Hello guys and welcome again. My name is Behroz and in this video I will talk about one thing that almost everyone gets wrong about an interview. That is, they think that interview is a Q&A session, while it is not. So in this video I will talk about why interview is not a Q&A session and how you should go about thinking about an interview. I'm a finance executive by profession and a personal finance and a career coach by passion. On this channel, I post content pertaining to career and financial success. Now, in case you find this content valuable, I have to ask for you. 1, press the like button as this keeps me motivated. 2, press the subscribe button along with the bell icon so you get notified as soon as I put a new content on this channel. Other than that, if you want me to be supported in making similar content like this, you can do so on patreon.com. I will leave the link to my Patreon page in the description of this video. Now, getting back into the topic. In reality, interview is a communication session. It is not a Q&A session. We get it all wrong. We prepare for the questions that I will be asked certain questions and I have to answer those questions. What we don't get right is actually what we need to do is we need to have a communication, a dialogue, a discussion, which we don't have. We just go as robots. We've prepared certain answers for questions we expect to be asked and we just go and deliver those answers without thinking that how can I build a bond? How can I sell myself? How can I build a relationship with the guy who is interviewing me? Because at the end of the day, and I say this time and time again, the individual who is hiring you is not just hiring you for your skills. You have skills, but so do other many people who are interviewing. They have skills as well. They are eventually trying to hire someone they can work with. They enjoy working with. They want to get out of the interview and say, I enjoyed talking to this guy or this girl. It was fun. It was a good feeling, because they will be working with you day in, day out. That hiring manager will be working with you day in, day out. So they need to make sure they hire someone they can have fun working with, they can enjoy working with, as against someone who is super smart but difficult to work with. You'd rather be average smart but a great person to work with, because at the end of the day, you won't be the only person getting the work delivered. There will be a team and they want someone who can fit in that team and collaborate. So for instance, one thing that people generally miss and don't prepare well is the introduction. They think introduction is just a flyby, it's not important. It is the most important thing. The reason introduction is the most important thing because it comes first in the interview. So if you get space to introduce yourself, make sure you just don't talk about your skills and your key highlights from profession, but also talk about your personality, what you like, what you dislike, your characteristics. That is very important. You need to tell them what kind of an individual you are. You need to show your personality to them. The stuff that you will talk about in terms of your profession are already there on the resume. Of course, you have to talk about them as well, because you can't just expect the interviewer to have read your resume completely. They will just quickly skim through your resume. So you'll have to talk about key highlights that you want to highlight in the interview from your profession. That is important. However, at the same time, it is also important for you to bring out your personality. What are your likes and dislikes? What is your family like? Do you have kids? What are your passions? What motivates you? All of this is very important and this comes down in introduction. Second, make sure that there is a two-way communication. Like when you are talking in a way as if you are exchanging a dialogue, you are having a discussion. So it is even good at times to just ask the interviewer, does that make sense? Is that what you were looking for? Is that answer sufficient for what you were looking for? Now it serves two purposes. One is it creates a dialogue because they will react to it as well, saying, oh yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. Oh, or no, I was looking for something more elaborate, and if you can talk about something else, and so on and so forth. Second, it also ensures that you are confirming with the interviewer that whatever you are sharing is what they are looking for as well. So you might be talking about something else while they are looking for something else. So it is always nice when you deliver your question, or rather when you deliver an answer to a question, you go like, does that make sense? Was this what you're looking for? And that way you kind of create a dialogue and they go like, oh yes, exactly, this is what we were looking for and we have a similar issue. Or you can go to an extent of even checking with them if they have had similar experiences in their organization. So an example that you're sharing, you talk about an example where you delivered some business growth or you resolved a business challenge, and now you're kind of saying, do you have something similar in your organization as well? Do you have similar challenges? Is growth an issue, or you're growing well? Is profit an issue? Next is make sure that you also prepare, not just prepare for the questions that you would be asked. That is important. It's good to know what you would be asked just so you're not blindsided. But it is far more important to prepare as to what you need to present to them about you. So you have to write down like 5 to 6 things that you want to portray to the hiring manager as to who you are. So for instance, for me, or for the kind of role that I usually go for, is about strategy. So I tell them I love strategy development, I love strategy execution, I love strategy tracking. This is what motivates me. I like problem solving, I like financial analysis, I like coaching and teaching people and stuff like that. So I make sure that whatever I say, whatever I talk, whether it's my introduction, whether it's a Q&A, whether it's towards the end of the interview when I'm saying bye to them, I talk to them about my key highlights. I make sure I build it in somewhere, and also in the end, when possible, I summarize that at the end of the day, this is what my profile is, this is what I'm looking for, this is what motivates me. Because the reason they're asking you all these questions is because they're looking for those elements, that what you enjoy, what you are expert in. How about after giving them the entire interview, you tell them what you enjoy and what you are an expert in. Not just the hard skills. Hard skills are already there, but the soft skills part, the characteristic, the personality. You need to tell them what you are, who you are. And if that matches the job description, ideally you've read the job description and you've already seen what they're looking for, they would be like, yes, this is the exact person we are looking for. So even though you deliver your answers, it is still important you summarize and tell who you are, which is actually telling them who they are looking for, which is exactly you. Another important piece about communication is storytelling. So make sure you just don't throw facts. You tell a story. You tell a story, you create a situation, you give a context. So if they ask you a question, you tell what the context was. And context will have a story. This was the situation. And so much so that you can even paint some story for them to picture it. So for instance, there could be an example where the GM called you in the room and said, we have a problem. Our business results are not doing well. And they assigned the task to you. And in that room, you sat down with the team and you did a brainstorming session. Now, suddenly the interviewer can picture you entering the room where the general manager is sitting, giving you or assigning you the problem, and then you having a brainstorming session with the team. If you allow them to visualize it by storytelling, it will become much easier for them to remember when they are debriefing with other interviewers or with the hiring manager or with the HR manager or whoever the hiring team is. Or even if they don't have to debrief, it just makes it very easy for them to remember and visualize and believe in you more when you share a story versus just sharing a fact. Similarly, when you talk about your actions, the actions you took in order to solve the context or the problem, don't just talk about what action you took, but also talk about why you took the action and how did you go about taking the action. Essentially, what they are looking for is not for you to solve same problems that you've had in your past. The problems you had in your past may not repeat in future at all. But what they want to make sure is whether you know how to go about solving it, and not just stating the action, but also stating how you will go about delivering on that action. So for instance, if you say, I did an analysis, it would be important for you to also say, how did you go about doing that analysis? So I collected the data. I created a chart where I compared 2 data sets. Then I aligned or shared that analysis with the team and got their buy-in. Then I presented it to my manager, got his or her buy-in, and then I executed it or got an alignment on it, and so on and so forth. So this is the complete process where you collect data, you analyze data, you get input from stakeholders, you get input from your manager, and then you go about executing it. As against just saying, I analyze the data. You have to say more. You have to give the story. Next one under communication is active listening. It is super important for you to first listen to the interviewer, what they're saying, what they're asking before you start answering the question. So much so, it is advisable, and I highly recommend you do this, is even pause. So when they deliver a question to you, say, give me some time to reflect on it or structure my thoughts. And then write down what you have to say. This way, you've listened to them, and then only you start thinking about the question. Don't start thinking about the question as they're speaking. Let them deliver the question, then process it, write down things that you have to say, like in bullet form, take 30 seconds, and then go ahead and deliver the question. By this way, you will come across someone who's thoughtful, who's more clear, and is not just about delivering an answer. It's about delivering the right answer. So you're not about speed. You are about delivering and giving the right answer. Now, next important piece in communication is the non-verbal communication, which is using your hands, using your eyeballs, all of this. make sure when you talk, you come across as someone who's enthusiastic. And especially when you're talking about your own examples, your projects from past, you should come across someone who's very passionate, because those are your career highlights. If you just speak about your career highlights in a very boring way, it may seem it's not a highlight. It's like in something average, because things that are highlight to me, I can just speak about them with my eyes open, with full passion, with my hands waving, because I felt so proud working on those projects, delivering those projects. They were amazing. They are my life's key highlights. You have to talk about your life's key highlights in that 1 hour, in that 45 minutes. And if you're only talking about your highlights, you should come across someone as highly passionate, and it should show in your body language. Now also make sure your communication is very clear. The best way to deliver clear and concise communication is to talk in bullets. So for instance, when you're delivering an action or you're saying, these are the things I did, say, these are the things I did. Number 1, X, Y, Z. Number 2, X, Y, Z. Number 3, X, Y, Z. Now, keep going with the numbers as you're recalling what you have to say in all the actions. But when you talk about 1, 2, 3, you give bullets. When you give bullets, for each of the bullet, you allow the interviewer time to reflect on it, to register what you said. Also, it makes it very easy for them to take notes. When you're talking in bullets, it's very easy for them to take notes, as against when you're giving just an open-ended story. So yes, do have storytelling as part or under your bullets, but start with the bullet. Number 1, I did this. In this particular action, these are the things I did, and this is how I did it. It's okay to tell a story there, and rather it's important to tell a story there, but start with the bullet. Help your interviewer take good notes. When they can take good notes, they can go back next day when they have to decide whether they'll hire you or not, or when they compare you with other candidates who they interview, let's say a week after you. They'll exchange notes, and the notes should be so easy for them to read, because you made it so easy for them to take notes that they can read your notes and recollect exactly the communication they had with you or the interview they had with you. Another important piece is also to be adaptable in your communication style. So you have to read what kind of individual is in front of you. If that individual is very enthusiastic, passionate, very happy, probably it is important for you to dial up your passion as well, or your happiness as well. If the other person in front of you is sober, slow, dead person, maybe it's important for you to not overhype and just go a bit calm. So, and be adaptable in your communication style with the kind of person you are facing. And you'll figure it out in first 30 seconds. When you say, hello, hi, how are you? How was your day? And just pass some salutations and how are things, you'll figure it out how enthusiastic the person is. If they are very enthusiastic, they are talking a lot, means they are hyper. So you can go on hyper mode as well. But if they are someone who's not that hyper, maybe you need to dial down as well. Just match your communication with them. Second last point that I want to share with you is making use of the question and answer session towards the end. I've made a separate video where I explain why this segment is so important, not for you to only know about the company. Rather, you can even use this segment to sell yourself. So when you are asked, tell me if you have any questions for us or for me, that is the point where you can even ask them smart questions in a way where you are still selling yourself. Like you are the individual who they really want to hire. Not just because of the fact that you are asking a question, rather because of what questions you are asking, as they are the ones which will reflect on you. Because if this person is inquiring about this particular question, it means he or she has interest in this area. Let's take an example. For instance, you ask a question about, tell me about the idea whether you have or what kind of training and development programs do you have in your organization. Suddenly, you are telling the interviewer that you are interested in training and development. You are someone who's passionate, who's eager to learn, eager to grow, and hence you are asking this question. Otherwise, why would you ask this question? Why would you be interested in training and development? You will only ask about training and development if you're interested in it. As I said, I made a separate video on it. I highly recommend you check out that video and make sure you use this segment to your advantage. Last but not the least, towards the end of the interview, make sure you conclude the interview. What I mean here is conclude what you want to tell them, the message you want to give them. You start with the message you want to give them and you end with the message you want to give them, because you want to make sure they leave with the exact message you want them to know about you. As I said, for me, that would be, I'm someone who's passionate about strategy, problem solving, analysis, and development and team coaching, team teaching, because I want to leave them with the idea that I will be the one who will come in their organization and work on developing and executing the strategy. And maybe that's what they're looking for. So I need to make sure in the job description, if they're looking for strategy, I talk about strategy. For instance, in the job description, they talk about communication. So then I bring in that element. And another thing that I want to call out about myself is that I am someone who's constantly improving on their communication, and I enjoy communicating in bigger groups, in smaller groups, presenting to bigger groups, and communicating through writing and all. So make sure you make that point. And you can do so by saying, okay, towards the end of the interview, I just want to kind of summarize as to what my strengths are or what motivates me. Maybe that is the right way to do it, so you sound humble. What motivates me is strategy, communication, team coaching, team development. Make sure you conclude the interview. That concludes the video as well. Hopefully this video was helpful for you to now have an idea that interview is not just about Q&A. It's about communicating, and you have to bring in your personality. Thank you for watching this video. In case you found value in this video, I'm sure you'll find value in another video where I talk about how you can go about introducing yourself. You can check it out here. Other than that, as I said, I also talk about personal finance on this channel. I would like to share with you a video where I talk about my personal finance journey. You can check it out here. Thank you.